Welcome everyone to Keeping It Real on Purpose with Edna White, and I'm so glad that you all are here. And this is one of the things that is really close to my heart that I want to do when we're talking about bullied out of position, a Black woman's career stage. So we want to talk about that with some panelists that I've chosen. My name is Edna White. I'm going to be your commentator and your host for today. I'm also an author, a speaker, and a host of other things. So you all know me if you're on here today. So I'm going to introduce one at a time and let them introduce themselves. Dr. Jo Lamm, if you would introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Edna. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Dr. Jo, and I have a business called Tula Soul, which is a women's wellness, and I'm a holistic life, wellness, and spiritual coach. And I also teach yoga, Pilates, mindfulness, and meditation. And I'm just really happy to be here. I've known Edna for some time and appeared on another panel podcast of hers. And yeah, I look forward to being here. Thank you.
Okay, Yvonne.
Hello, everyone.
Man.
And thank you, Miss Edna, for having me on the panel. I'm Yvonne the Motivator. Man, I'm the host of Determined Women of Destiny, which can be seen on YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I am also an author, a community advocate. I am a public speaker, program facilitator, event host. I'm your all-around girl. If you need something said, I am the one that can say it.
Yeah. All right, Denise Burton.
Yes, my name is Dr. Denise Burton, and thank you for having me. I am a certified addiction specialist. I have a PhD in conflict resolution and a master's in social work. My history has been working with veterans and doing counseling and doing mediation, family and divorce, but I specialize mostly with veterans and divorce mediation, family, that is child custody and child visitation and equitable distribution. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're going to have a discussion on bullied out of position, a Black woman's career disruption. And we're going to start with some questions that were given to each of our panelists, and there's going to be some discussion with it. And in that, we're going to have a Q&A session with those that have come and joined as a participant. So we're going to start with the question, who are the main bullies, women or men? And I think I'm going to give this question to Yvonne first.
Well, we would think it would be men. Unfortunately, in places of power where women are the head honcho, they are the ones. They are most noted for ripping apart other women. And because Black women seem to be, to most people, not saying they're not, but they have very strong personalities, it's like a challenge if I can take you down.
Yeah. Totally agree. I totally agree with that. Denise?
Yes, okay. I think it's women also. I've run into different situations where other women just want to be mean, cruel. There's no understanding. For example, if you're pregnant, there's no room for empathy or understanding. There's beratement, there's no patience, there's a pushing you out of a position that you are in. It's a dismissal type of thing. So I would have to agree with her. It's women.
Okay, Dr. Jo.
Yeah, I agree. I think that men bully in a different way, more in a sexual way. I think that women are sort of pitted against each other. And historically, women were property, right? It's different. Yes. Black women were slave property. But so basically, we had to compete against one another for being given away. And Black women were also competing against one another in terms of being traded or this and that. So there's always been this kind of war. And and competition. So I think that carries over in the workplace.
Yeah, and I want to add to what you all said. Yes, yes, and yes. I want to say that. I think they have, and I'm going to say it because you all were very nice. I'm more of a practical person, and I'm going to say it's jealousy, and they call it the queen bee syndrome.
Yeah.
And they really, when someone comes in leadership, when they feel that they have a leadership role, there's only one queen in the beehive.
Right.
So it's automatic that they start protecting. This is my child. This is my thing. And they become combative. They become possessive. They become all of these things that, and kind of like X you out. So I agree with you, all three of you on that, because that's a great observation. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Are women of color, specifically Black women, more likely to be bullied in the workplace? And we're going to start with Dr. Joe.
Yeah, I think obviously I am not a Black woman, so I don't want to be speaking for you, but I do believe so. And I think it's because Black women in general are just more harassed and picked on because, and like you said in the beginning, Yvonne, about the strong personality, which I love and I admire. And I think that speaks to the strength and character of Black women, but I think it's also intimidating because Black women have power and they are the original woman. And I think that that's very intimidating for people. And so people want to squash that and, tamp that down. So that's why I think there's a lot of hostility and a lot of bullying. That's what I think. Yeah.
That's a great analogy. I love the that we were the original, because not many people say that we're the original, and that's great.
Yeah.
I don't like to use the word strong because I know that strong is, I guess generationally, very intimidating to us women. I like to say leadership, and we have a leadership ability, because strong really demeans us in our own character. It gives us so much responsibility, that we can't really take on. I don't like to say that. That's just me, not you, no anybody else. But it just for me, it gave me too much responsibility. I don't want to be labeled as strong. I have leadership. Yes, I have leadership ability. And that's more comfortable to me. I'm not saying for everyone, but Dr. Denise, what do you say?
I say that we as women try to demean each other in many subjective ways. We take advantage of the way we communicate with each other. For example, if I make a statement, "Oh, you articulate that so well," and it's very demeaning, because I went to school too. I had the same instructors that you did. So all of a sudden, how can I speak in such a way to be understood if I'm not communicating through the way that I'm supposed to? All of a sudden, I'm told I articulate very well. And that's
it's very demeaning. Yeah.
So
I can understand that. Yvonne?
Well, I take a different take on it. And I agree with both of you. Most jobs believe that a Black woman is the head of her household and there's no man there. So she needs this job. So I will treat you however I feel I'm going to treat you, because you have to stay here, because you've got kids at home, you've got a car, you've got a house to maintain, and you're not leaving anywhere. So they forget that they read our resume, and that's why they hired us. So we do have potential to go somewhere else, but we're looked at the matriarchs, and because we have so much responsibility on us, we will take this, because we can't afford not to have money in our homes, because we're the only one bringing it in.
But don't you think, Yvonne, that it's us telling our business too much? because our resume shouldn't say that we have children. It doesn't say that on a resume. It says our experience, our workplace, don't you think that it's us now getting comfortable with the fact that we can start doing all of that, we can start having,
Right.
Or is
the
that people's
vomit of the
assumption?
mouth thing? Yeah.
Is that kind of people's assumption though?
Right.
Well, let me
Okay.
interrupt. At one time, the original resume would request if you were married.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
Original resume
Okay.
would request if you were married. They didn't ask if you had children, but ask if you were married.
And there's
then
an assumption there.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Based upon that assumption, that's what would lead up to what she said earlier. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in jobs, there are people that are pitted in certain places to get information. So here it is, there's someone that you're thinking is being friendly with you.
Yeah.
And the
You're
boss
right,
is
Yvonne.
asking them for information on you. So now they feel they have something in their pocket.
Well, and I also think that it's just generally assumed that all women have children. I mean, I chose not to have children, and I still, my husband and I will go out for dinner, and it's how are your children? I don't have children, and people still
that's
give
so
me looks.
terrible.
Yeah, and then they say, how are your pets? And I'm like, well, I have fish. And I mean, it's still, as a woman, I'm supposed to have children. That's how it is. So I think it's normally I think a boss would expect, well, you have children, so it makes sense that they would think, that's your responsibility. Yeah.
Right. I think also you're right about that, Dr. Joe, is that they assume. And I never, any job that I've only been on 3 jobs my entire life. So I've never talked about my children. And when my children did show up, they're like, you have kids? Yeah, because I believe that business have no place with personal space. And especially if I feel like you don't give a damn about me. I'm not sharing that with you. I'm very careful, and I'm that type of person. I think Denise has known me the longest, but I'm that type of person. You won't know that I have children till I'm gone. And then they kind of see me in it. Oh, you got a kid? You're like, yeah, I got children. Yeah. Huh? But I won't share that. Business is business to me. And but that's me. Business is business. And the assumptions are, I like what Yvonne said, they assume. And I love making them squirm in their assumptions.
Yeah.
I love them to do that. And I won't even answer. Yvonne is good at that. She gives the eye roll. I give the eye stare, And then I don't even talk about it. I just walk away. Yvonne gives the eye roll. And she does it. Me, I just stare in their eyes, and that's intimidating, but that's what you have to do. And these are all microaggressions. These are really all microaggressions that they give us. It really is. It's microaggressions that they learn down the line. And you can tell where they're from. Like, when Dr. Joe was talking about them asking her if she has children and an animal. Well, what's the story we all were told when we were young? Get a husband with a white picket fence and 1.5 kids and a dog, right? That's what we're told. Yeah. Not a cat, but a dog. We were told to get a dog. And you know where they're from. You know what era they're from when they ask those questions. And I think that we as Black women and women of color, we have to say, when they ask those questions, you know where they're from. And we have to formulate an answer to them so that we can kind of bring them back into the era where we are. And that's what we're really talking about today, is how can we bring people back into the era of where we are? Some people we're not going to be able to save. We know that, right? We know that we can't send a message to a lot of people that are really into themselves and has the beehive syndrome. We know that. But we want to give solutions to other people on changing this the way it's supposed to be, the way that it's perceived. We want a new voice for it. We want to be the ones to change that, change makers. That's what we are today, right? Okay. So thank you, ladies. So let's go to the next question. Are women of color, specifically Black women, more likely to be bullied in the world? That's the same question. Excuse me. Are the reports of office harassment by Black women often overlooked? So we'll take this to Dr. Denise Burton first.
Yes, I will say it is overlooked because I recall in one of my job experiences, I was referred to as the Black Barbie doll. At that time, my hair was long, straight, and it was presumed I had a kin.
Oh.
Okay. And this had nothing to do with the type of work that I was doing, but that's what they would call me behind my back. And I overheard the conversation one day, and I said, what? I said, why would you refer to me as Black Barbie doll? Oh, well, it's meant as a compliment. I said, why would you think that would be a compliment to me? I said, that's demeaning to me. I said, because I know what Barbie dolls are about. And I'm not about that. I said, I'm a professional woman, just as you are. So why would you do that? It would take away my status, my education, and they will put me in a different class. That's what I would say. It put me in a different class, and I didn't like that. So, yeah, that's what I have to say on that.
Yeah, wow. Yvonne.
Absolutely. As soon as you say, I feel that I'm working in a hostile environment, the first thing they do is they come back and they counteract it. Like I wrote an email one time, you're upset about the mistakes that I'm making. You're putting me in a hostile situation, which is putting me in a situation where I can't think clearly. I get this long soliloquy of email of the reason why they're treating me hostile. You cannot explain why you're treating someone hostile and not even what they're saying. Stop treating me this way. I'm responding because of your treatment. Your explanation of your treatment doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Because what you're saying is, you're saying that I'm treating you bad. Well, I'm treating you bad because. So it's like, just take it, shut up, and deal with it and get the work done. And I'm like, no, ma'am, no. I have a right to be respected. Okay. And you will respect me. And if you don't respect me, then you will have to deal with this wrath over here. And this wrath is attached to a pen, and this pen shall continue to write. And I will write to anyone who will read it and let them know about your behavior.
Sure.
Well, I agree with that, because even if you took the information like I did to my supervisor at the time, and I explained to her that the other co-workers, the particular woman was making me very uncomfortable and it was a hostile environment, she just wanted to pat me on the back and just told me I was being too sensitive. And that was not the case. I had the same education, a master's degree. I graduated high honors. It wasn't just a B. I had a 3.75 GPA, and there was no reason. And I went to an accredited college, University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and in the Midwest. So even though I was from New York at the time, I had the same qualifications. It was irrelevant to her, but it was relevant to me because it's what I had earned.
Right. Yeah. A couple of years ago, I started going gray. So, I can do hair. So I was trying to mix different hairstyles so that I could get used to the gray, because I wasn't ready to go gray at the time. So I did this hairstyle. I had to go to work the next day. I didn't like the hairstyle myself, but I was like, I gotta do something to hair. I go to work, and one person who was always antagonizing me comes into the break room and shakes her head and says, no. So my
Ooh.
boss was like, what are you talking about? Your hair, I don't like it. I was furious. I'm dark.
Did I
so,
ask you?
so I'm dark. I can't turn red, but I was definitely burgundy. And when I said to her, you're not family, you're not friend.
Mhm.
You don't get to say anything about my hair.
No.
And that started a whole fight. And do you know, I ended up being terminated
No.
because of that, but they said it was my computer usage.
Not your
So the
attitude?
question is,
Mhm.
are the reports of office harassment by Black women often overlooked? And we're going to take this question to Dr. Joe.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have the experience, obviously, of being a Black woman, but I've heard
Don't say
many
that anymore,
stories.
okay? Don't say that anymore.
Okay,
Don't say that
I
anymore.
know. I feel like I can't. Well, yeah, I won't
Yes,
say
you
that anymore.
can. Yes, you can.
Okay. Yeah,
Because you
I mean,
have
I've heard the
client, yes,
stories.
you have client experience. Yes, you can.
I do, and
Don't say
I
that anymore.
have friend experiences, and I have so many
Yes.
experiences. I had
Yes.
a friend of mine the other day. Her new employee walked in, and her new colleague walked in, and she had been hired, but she was reticent to work with this woman because she heard she had been fired for being racist. And so she was talking to her and she said, what is this about being racist? And the woman said, they're estheticians. And she said, well, this number 6 woman. And so she's like, what are you talking about? And apparently they use numbers for the shade of skin, one
Ooh.
being very pale and
Paper
6 being
brown.
very dark. And so she
Paper
referred to her
bag
as a number 6 woman.
Paper bagged.
Yeah. And so obviously my friend was like, what? And she was just shocked that she would refer to this woman by a number. And so it just shocks me how insensitive and ignorant people are about so many things. I work with Humanize My Hoodie, and they do this ally training and education, and I just don't understand how people don't know these things and how our society. Well, I could go off on many things, but yes, of course, they're not taken seriously. No.
Well, in conjunction to what you said, hostile work environment also comes in shades of color, as you had mentioned.
Yes.
Because a light-skinned woman is sometimes pitted against a dark-skinned woman.
Yes.
And a person with straight hair is pitted against a person with curly hair or wavy hair. And then the dynamics are set up in such a way that it's not competitive, it's more destructive than harmonious. So I would like to just put that out there because you brought that up,
Yeah. And that goes back to slave days when the lighter skinned could be in the house and the darker skin would be in the fields. I mean, it still plays out. Yeah.
Yes, it does, because the old
It's intergenerational,
yeah, light, if you're light, you're all right. If you're black, get back. If you're yellow,
Yeah.
hey, that's the way they used to
all
say.
of that.
And
that's
really,
intergenerational.
lighter skin is a genetic malfunction because originally it was the dark skin, and then when people went outside of, when people migrated or whatever, then we lost that melanin. So actually, it's all backwards,
Yeah.
If people
So,
would
it's very true.
If people understood that, the reality of things.
The darkest black.
Yeah, but they don't want to understand that.
Right. Black is the darkest color, and it's consumed of all the colors.
Yes.
The only way to make black lighter is to add lighter shades in, but all color starts at the black.
That's right. That's where the original starts.
That's where it starts. You can only get lighter, you can't get darker.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
And I just messed up some people for the rest of their lives.
Good. I think we caused a lot of confusion, and that's fine.
It does. I remember when I was at this one particular job and we had said, it was a group of us and we were just talking, and I'm a real practical person. You know, I'm hanging around. If I'm hanging around white people, I have a problem with white. You can call me black, you know, I'm good with that. So we were all walking together and we were just like, okay, the brown girls are going out. It was just like a thing between us. And somebody overheard it and was like, they were offended by that. Like, I'm like, what? So of course, I was called into the office and asked, well, did you say anything that had to do with race? I said, race? I don't know what you're talking about. So she says, well, somebody came to the office and talked to me and said that you said something very, you know, condescending. You said brown girls. I said, what? I said, what color am I?
Okay.
That part.
That don't make no sense. So I said, if I said it, I said it. But what color am I?
Mhm.
So I don't get it. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I don't know if whoever talked to you was uncomfortable about it, but you know what? You're not my principal. I'm a grown woman and you're a grown woman. We work here together as a team. So tell that other teammate that came and told you that, come see me. So I go into my little area and I said, excuse me, anyone that does not like the word black or brown, they may excuse themselves now because I'm going to use it all I want. Because I don't care if you call me black or brown. I'm definitely going to call you white. I have no problem. But do not ever think that you're going to go to nobody. And I said it loud. Do not ever think you're going to go to anybody and tell on me about what I said because I'm a grown woman. I have the right to say what I want to say. And that was the end of those conversations. And so I think if you not attack them, but if you listen, I think about Shirley Chisholm all the time. And if you don't attack a situation, if you don't sit at the table, if no one gives you a seat, take a chair, bring your own chair and sit at the table. You have to make a stance. You have to stand there and say, hey, no, this is unacceptable.
Mhm.
You have to stand out and say something because we represent our next generation. Do we want our next generation to be confused?
No.
That's the key. Do we want our next generation to be confused? No. And if we don't stand up for things like this, we'll fall for everything. And sometimes we do get caught up. We get caught up and we uncertainty, like say, hey, we need our job, whatever the case may be. You don't want to start no trouble, maybe it's religious reasons. But there's one thing I will tell you, Dr. Martin King was religious as can be. And he stirred up a hell of a problems. So I don't know what we are doing. And if I can go way back and all to the biblical people, Jesus was a rebel. He was not compliant to anyone. So we all backwards with that laying low. If we're religious, laying low, it's all backwards. We have to speak out and do our thing. So ladies, what do you think about speaking out about that? Speaking out about a problem? And I'll go to Dr. Jill first.
Yeah, there was a question for coaches today on LinkedIn, and it said, what do you do, or questions for therapists, what do you do when a client says something that's sexist or racist? And most of the answers were, oh, I just I ignore it, I let it go. And I'm like, I said, no, I address it right away. First, I'm offended, and I say why, and then I address it with the client. I'm like, what are these people saying? Like, they ignore it and let it go. No, what? Did you just what? How is that therapeutic in any way? And I just said, I'm sorry, but we are responsible as citizens for acting in alignment with our values. And I'm like, are all these people racist and sexist? But I don't understand that. I mean, yes, we have to speak up. We have to educate. We have to act in alignment with our values. And we have to yes, we need to because so many people are unaware and ignorant. And so it is our duty to speak our mind and speak our truth. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Always.
Yvonne?
Absolutely. You speak truth to power.
That's right.
Speak truth to power. Anyone that knows me, if you say something to me that I don't like, I am going to let you know that. You shouldn't have said that.
Mhm.
Don't speak to me like that.
Yeah,
You don't have that right. I did not
Yeah.
open that door, and
Yeah.
you don't have a key for that. And
Yeah.
I think that Black women are put in a position in the office not to be able to do that, because you got bills, you got kids, you got to do this, you got to do that. And you may get a little cocky after you give your 2-week notice, because deuces, I'm out of here. But before that, you kind of
Mhm.
have to take it. And when you speak to power, you have to be very ginger about it.
Mm.
If like I'll say I'm Black, that usually sucks the air out the room, because everybody's expecting me to say African American.
Mhm.
Someone who had the nerve to ask me, why would I say I'm Black? And I explained to them, have you ever been to Africa? No. Well, go to Africa and you will realize why I say I'm Black and not African American. Because African American could look like you, and of course she was a woman of white shade. That could be an African American. Only
Mhm.
Black looks like me.
Yeah.
And my question then was, why would you even ask me what I'm calling myself? If you asked me what my name was,
Right.
and I said Yvonne, you wouldn't question the origin or the reasoning for my name.
Right.
Yeah.
You would just say, oh,
Right.
okay, your name's Yvonne. You may say, why is
Yeah.
it spelled with a Y and not an E? Well, A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y, sometimes W. Y takes the place of E, and U takes the place of W. You went to school just like I did. Yes. You learned that in elementary school. Yes. But other than that, you wouldn't question it.
Mhm.
But if I
No.
speak up for myself, you question it.
Sure.
You tell me that
Sure. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I'm a person who wants to cause trouble in the office. Well, you came to my cubicle to say something that was off color. That was your fault. You just
Yeah.
didn't assume that I was going to send you back to your office with more color than you brought to my cubicle.
Mhm. I think when you said African American, and the reason why I say that I don't identify with that, because America doesn't accept us. So why would I be hyphenated to a place that doesn't accept us? If I want to be Black, and that puts me in a place where my origin. But if I'm African American or Afro American or whatever hyphenation you want to give me, if you look at it, it's hyphenated. That means I'm stuck. That's my history. No, it's not. America's not my history. That's not something I want to keep, because it's not my history. I live here. Okay, I live here, but my history is over there. So that's why I associate with Black, and I don't have a problem with someone saying I'm Black. Denise.
Well, I refer myself as African American because my origins is in Africa. I was born here in America, so I am American, and that's how I view myself. I also see myself as a brown woman, so it doesn't bother me either way. But I think it's a sign of the times of where we are culturally and economically and spiritually that's making us take a hard look at what goes on in today's society. And because we are pit against each other in this way, violence has erupted. Violence and attacks have erupted against women, have erupted against men, have erupted against children, more so against the woman now, because women's rights are being taken away. And because they're being taken away, we are struggling with ourselves, and we're fighting with ourselves and creating hostile work environments among ourselves in this endeavor to try to get an even playing field. And it's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
See it as a trap.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a trap. And I think I try to support every woman. And support means, when we support one another means, we become friends.
Yes.
And I've seen so many people, or so many, let me just stay in women. So many women say they support you and they won't even buy a book of yours. They won't even buy a piece of anything of yours. They won't even pay attention. If they can't buy it, they won't even pay attention to something that you're saying. So that's not support. We have to learn to support one another, really support one another. And that means if Yvonne asks me, Edna, how do you do such and such? Because if I die tomorrow, I haven't helped anybody. All I've done is kept it all to myself. And that's biblical. Like literally, you keep everything to yourself, you get nothing. You hold $1 in your hand when you go to the offering, you get nothing. You have to uncrinkle it. You ever seen that when you go to, well, not Dr. Joe, but when you go to church, somebody hold their money so tight, you don't see it outside of their hand. You see, they open their hand up, they have to press the money out to put it in the offering, and then it's $1.
Yes.
Okay? That's the truth about it, so you know how they live. A lot of times when I talk to people, they tell on themselves. And that's how we gotta live as women. Is like, okay, like Dr. Joe shared that this woman came up to her, or person came up to her and said, do you have children? You know where they're living. You know where they stuck at. So they don't even deserve an answer.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Why do you don't deserve an answer? If they living way back there and when were we told this? At 9, 10, 11, 12. So if they're living back at that 12-year-old, they have not grown. They're nowhere near me. So they don't even deserve an answer. Really. They don't deserve an answer. You talk about something else. You don't ingratiate someone who's a fool into your, because that's foolishness into your life. You don't give them an answer. I ain't telling you ain't got no kids. I'm not telling you nothing.
Yeah. And they don't ask. They just say, how are your children?
Yeah, and I'll say, I want to get a drink over there. You want something?
Yeah.
I sure would. I would change the subject. No.
Yep.
And listen, and like, people manipulate you when they ask about those things. And just not even asking, do you have children? It's a manipulation tactic. So that's manipulation. That just goes for the kill. That's like a snake, just bite you. It doesn't even sneak up on you. It's a whole bite. It's to just go at you.
Yeah.
So when you got to realize that, people want to manipulate you, and when it's coming from another woman, that's a whole manipulation. That is a whole issue. That is a whole disturbing issue. A whole disturbing issue.
She's been brainwashed.
Yeah, she's been exactly, Denise. She's been brainwashed, and she's stuck in an era that listen, she might have been 52. Now, can you imagine thinking like you 12 at 52?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can you imagine that?
Yep.
Like, so she's still stuck when her mother told her, her father told her, you got to get married, have a white picket fence, 1.5 children, good husband, and a dog. Most likely, what's that thing called? What's that?
Labrador,
golden retriever.
Or golden doodle.
Or golden retriever, right? You see this happening, and you can picture it.
But not only
that, what'd you say, Denise?
Not only that, the important thing is the education from as you say, from the beginning, the books that were published.
Yes.
Books that were published, at least for me, because I'm 70. The books that were published during my time were just that, with Dick, Jane, and Spot.
Yes, that's a good point.
And
Good point, Denise. Good point.
I remember to read.
Dick,
Yeah.
Jane, and Spot,
Dick Jane.
and Spot.
See Spot jump. Yeah, yeah.
And they were, Dick and Jane were white and Spot was a spotted little
Yes,
cute
yes.
dog.
And the dog was a golden retriever. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so it started there.
Oh,
when
yeah.
when the kids went to school, and it's continued
Mhm.
on, and
Yep.
we're reversing back to that, and that's what's
Mhm.
happening right now.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this because the women's rights have been taken away, Roe v. Wade, it's
Mhm.
pitted
Mhm.
woman against woman. So
Yeah.
you have women who are totally against abortion and totally for abortion. And then where does that leave the mother? Where does that leave the woman who wants to have children? Where does that leave the woman who does not want to have children?
Yeah.
And where does that leave
Yeah.
the children that are growing up
Yeah.
to look at? So you have the fight right there. So there's a new indoctrination that we have to be aware of politically that's going on, because the political arena is affecting the educational arena, that's impacting on the workplace arena and the relationships that we have with each other. So I don't know,
Right.
that's my take on
That's
it.
a really good
It's a
point.
whole impaction. It's a
Right.
whole
Yes.
impaction of everything, layers of stuff, you know. And they've even added pronouns now.
Yes,
And I don't want to. I said when the place I was working at, I said I don't want to subscribe to that. My mother always taught me, say the person's name
That's it.
and say you,
Yeah.
or she always said that to me, and that made perfect sense to me, and I've
Yes.
always done that. And now the pronouns are they, whatever it is, and
I
said,
got my
no.
pronouns and I'll, yeah.
Go ahead, tell me, Joe.
Yeah, I
Tell me,
will
Joe.
defend. I work with a lot of people who are trans or who are, and I think it is a respect thing. I think that it's important to acknowledge that some people are not binary. And, I think it's going to be the way that things go. People
Right.
in my field, in health and wellness, people in mental health are generally going that direction. I mean, when I go to seminars and workshops, pretty much everybody identifies their pronouns. And it's just kind of the way things are. I have, I work with a lot of people that are trans, and it's just not a big deal to me. It's just, they're just regular people.
Right.
You
And I
know,
do
so
say that. I agree with that.
yeah. Mhm. And when people refer to themselves as they, them, it's just it's a little bit hard to get used to that nomenclature. But
Right.
once you do, it's just, we need to adjust our thinking about that, and about gender and fluidity and how we think about that. It's new, but it's not new. I mean, there's been trans and, people like always in
all
history.
eras.
It's not new. Yeah. It's just, we're aware of it. We're conscious about it. We're making it known.
But when
And I agree with what you're saying. I agree what you're saying about that, but calling them by their name, for me, and even though I know that they're trans, I'm not saying, oh, they, I'm saying their name, that person's name. I'm acknowledging in them. So
But
I
see, you
think,
just said
it's
acknowledging
fine
them.
that some
So-
people want to use it. It's fine that some people want to use it, and it shares that with me. Okay, great. And then I know that. But I'm saying, for me, that means another hoop I have to jump through, because now Black women really have a hard way to go in the workplace.
You're right.
In general. And then now we got another hurdle to jump through. What do you say, Yvonne? What was you going to say?
I feel that I should not be pressured or forced to use a pronoun.
No, I agree with that.
And when I'm in the workplace and you're telling me you have to choose a pronoun, my response is, my father took great lengths to name me what he wanted me to be called. And that's what I need to be called. My pronouns aren't important to me. I do understand, though, the pronouns are important
Right.
to
Right.
respect they deserve.
Yeah.
Because if someone identifies as non-binary and we want to push it away, oh, please, nope. I don't care. They calling themselves Lex. I know their name is Alexandria and I'm calling them Alexandria. That is disrespectful.
Yeah, that's very disrespectful, right?
But it's also disrespectful to tell me I must choose pronouns.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. No.
My name was already chosen for me. The choice
That's
was
right.
okay.
I
My choice is Yvonne.
Yes. Yeah. I think it should be voluntary, whether or not you put your pronoun. That needs to be voluntary. I agree. Yep.
Yep. Denise?
Whether I agree or disagree with the pronouns, I have to say, as a former government worker, statistics matter. Statistics matter because of money. Okay. And say because we have to look at the census and how the certain counties are budgeted. So I'm going to steer away from that particular topic because again, as a former government worker.
You just told us your part, so don't worry.
Okay.
We gotcha.
Yeah, we got you. Okay, final question, because we're going to have Q&A after this. What are the health risks involved in this type of being bullied out of position? And we'll take Yvonne first. And she's waving.
I'll do a real quick story. I'll make it quick. I remember getting my clothes ready on a Sunday and becoming depressed. I remember driving into the parking lot and my breathing was very hampered, anxiety hitting me. I remember sitting at my desk looking to the heavens because at the time I was turning 60. I said, God, is this the beginning of Alzheimer's or dementia? Because, that's when it starts happening. Because the mistakes I was making were foreign to me. But the trauma that I received, it was working on me mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. And the financial part was that I was demoted to a lesser position because of my quote unquote lack of work. And now, because I need money, I have to stay and go through that. I had to, it seemed like almost beg for the job that I was demoted to, when you knew I could not only do that job, but still do mine.
Yeah.
So everything about me, I put on 25 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
My skin was the worst it ever could be because I was eating horribly. Okay. I would come home and just watch TV and eat. My show was lacking because of it. My presentations weren't there the way they should have been. My speaking engagements had lessened because I'm doubting who I am. Now, 2 years before I accepted this job, I'm Yvonne the Motivator man. You say you can, I say you can. Give me 30 minutes and we'll develop a plan, a blueprint for your success. I knew that. I was that life coach. I was that girl. I lost my voice. How does someone that says something, what I just said so well, lose their voice? And the person that was causing all of that enjoyed every minute of it. Every minute of it. You get up in the morning and you say, hey, I'm gonna wear these blue pants and I'm gonna put this white shirt with it and I got my blue sweater, and guaranteed I'm going to do this to her, I'm doing this to that one, I'm doing that to this one, because their whole existence other people miserable because they were miserable. And that was only one job. I've worked with so many miserable women, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I worked at a job one time and I'm still friends with one of the people I worked with. And I said, you know what? Y'all got the worst of me. You got the worst. The money was horrible. I was making $30,000 less. Okay, that'll make you miserable. Then I came into the job, and because I had case management skills, I knew what case management was, but I didn't know the way y'all did. And because you looked at me like, oh, she's pluming her feathers, we're not going to give her the information.
Right.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so Dr. Denise, what do you say?
I say that it affects health like blood pressure, heart, and diabetes. Aside from that, the stress of the job can also infer post-traumatic stress disorder. Those are things that are labels that and illnesses that really attack the body. The heart, for example, silent killer. Blood pressure, silent killer. We internalize the things that go on in the job from the pressures that are put upon us, and we don't say anything, and then we don't go to the doctor. And then when we do go to the doctor, your blood pressure is out of control. Your cardiologist says, what are you doing to yourself here? We got to give you a Holter monitor to monitor your heart. Your diabetes, the doctor is telling you, hey, look, you're not eating right. Something's going on with your system here. You're gaining the weight. You don't know why. But these are all the pressures and symptoms of what's going on. And psychologically, the anxiety and depression can roll into post-traumatic stress disorder from her going to the job and doing the job. Sometimes women stay in the job. For example, an associate of mine told me that they did not want to go on. No, I'll tell you what it was. My granddaughter, when she was in the high school, did not want to be on the Zoom chat during the pandemic. And the teacher did not understand why. And Onaya told the teacher in a private conversation as why she didn't want to be on there, because she was the kids in the class would say she was brown, like, excuse the expression, SHIT. So she no longer wanted to be on there. It caused her to go ahead and retrieve back into herself and not come out. And she became more depressed. Things like that not only happen to us women as we are older, but they happen to the children. We forget about the female children who are going through the same things that we're going through in a different way. In schools, it happens. In the workplace, it happens. So I say the physical illnesses manifested from the mental illnesses and the mental pressures that come on and impact on us in a way that we wind up spending more money for doctors who don't know the origin of what the problem is. And sometimes we don't even know what the origin is, but we have an idea. So.
Good. All right, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it affects physical, emotional, mental, spiritual health, everything, and a lot of times, the problems can appear as a physical illness and they're psychosomatic. So it has to do with emotional well-being too. And they it shows up everywhere. So it impacts on every level. So I think that, in terms of interventions, it kind of needs to be addressed in every situation or in every aspect for women, including like physical health and mental health, spiritual health, and getting support in terms of having a good support network, a group of friends, family, community. This is a reminder. Because it's a really lot of pressure and it affects everything.
Right. Right. That's good. So, sisters, I agree with all of you, and I'll give you my experience. I've always worked for myself. I want to say about 20 years. And I've never had that pressure. I was in a male-dominated profession. And I may have heard some things, but it didn't affect me. And I may have said, they may have said things to me and I addressed it. And I was one of very few Black brokers who had their own office. And I've never experienced so much as being around women-owned businesses. So when I started working with this one organization, literally the pressure was so bad that as soon as I knew it was Monday, my head started pounding. At 9, like I had to show up at 9, and at 8:30, my head would be pounding. I got the frown line now, and the frown line, I gotta get Botox, and the frown line would come up, and I would be like mad for no reason. But there was nothing going on. I live alone. There was nothing going on. Had a great breakfast and great meditation, but 8:30, I knew that 9 o'clock was coming, and I was under stress. No matter how much I meditated, it just started happening. So that's when I knew that things were happening. So I went to the doctors, and they told me that I had high cholesterol. Why did I have high cholesterol? Because cholesterol foods are good when you are stressing. Potato chips, all the stuff that's not good for you, you want, because the cortisol is up there. It's up there. You're like going crazy. So you start eating. And I've never had any conditions like that ever. I've been fairly healthy most of my life. And I was very disappointed in myself. So where did that start? Like Yvonne said, they started, okay, am I really this good? Because I had immense confidence in what I did. And maybe I'm not that great, And then what really got me is that I kind of created my job. They didn't know what to do with me, so I kind of created it. And then they started taking duties from me from a job that I created. I was like, wait, what? And it didn't make any sense to me. And I started getting confused and and angry. And I was like, I gotta calm down. And I couldn't handle that. And it affected me mentally. I went to my doctor and I said, I don't think I can do this any longer. I don't feel in control. I'm losing control. And he said to me, he says, I've known you for a while, and maybe change is good. That's all he said to me. Maybe change is good. If it costs you your health, I don't think you should be there any longer. So I said, wait, you're a doctor. You're supposed to give me something to kind of fix this. And he's like, no, because you've never wanted medication, and I have to look at it in that realm. This may not be the place for you right now. Maybe things are changing and it may not be a place for you. So I'm not telling you to quit, but I'm suggesting that you might need a change. So that was my first note of that. I really wanted to kill somebody. I really never wanted to kill anybody, but I really wanted to jump through the Zoom screen and take my hands and strangle someone. I never wanted to do that before, never. And that, changed the trajectory of how I even now, and when I go to look for a position, I look at who the person is the head of it. I find out what the reviews are. I talk to people before I even apply. I am not going through that again, ever. And refuse to be in that position again. And it hurts you physically, like you said, physically, but psychologically, it does something to us. Like Yvonne said, it does something to us. Starts making us doubt ourselves, and take stuff away from us. Like it's almost like they steal stuff. And I was in a place that I knew what I was doing. I've been doing this for 27 years. What are you talking about? Like, took that away from me. And I knew that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing and how I'm supposed to be reacting. So I had to leave. But when things like that happen, you also question, like Yvonne said, financially, now what am I going to do? You know, and that's the thing. What happens with when women are bullied out of position, those are the questions we ask ourselves. Now what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Am I going to be blacklisted? Are they going to tell somebody else in the industry? You know, you worry about those things. Those questions come to mind. Am I going to be blacklisted? Honestly, am I going to be told? Are they going to call everybody they know? Don't hire her. You know, are they going to do that? You don't know. You know, and it gets that. Those are questions you ask yourself. And then that's the first layer. The second layer is, how am I going to provide for myself or my family or whatever it is? That goes along with the whole gambit. But the health risks are really serious. And I will say, in accordance with all my panel, that if you're in a place like that, get out. Don't stay 1 minute longer than that. You're not treated like you're worthy, that you're not treated fairly. Get out, no matter what anybody says, and don't prolong it. You know, don't try to, you know. And Yvonne, you know, shared that she begged for it, and I know she wishes right now. Whew, I know it was even more. It's one day and more in misery is the worst. Just get out of it. Just get out of it. And that's what we're here to say today. I think all of us are here is to get out of it. You know, don't allow your mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and your social life goes to pits, right, ladies?
Yes.
Your social life goes to pits.
Yeah.
Goes to pits. You don't go out with the girls no more. You don't go out. It goes to the pits, right?
You withdraw.
It just goes away.
Mm-hmm.
My
Yeah,
saving
you
grace
withdraw.
was that I remembered I had a dream, you know, what I wanted to do. And, you know, for the time that you're there, please realize every day you go to work, you're working on somebody else's dream. Okay?
Thank you. That's
You
right.
know,
You're not working on your
you
own.
need to give time
It's,
to
it's
your
important
dream.
that we realize that we need to learn to love ourselves, and it's okay to love ourselves. And that's what's important at this point, because we get to the point where we discard ourselves. We also have to take some responsibility in the fact that we don't take time out for ourselves. I say pay ourselves first, love yourself first, and understand yourself first. That way you can be more in tune with receiving and giving to someone else.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's terrific. Well, thank you. We've come to the Q&A part of our session. So if we have any questions from anybody in the audience, we're going to ask that you ask any of our panelists, put the question out there, and we'll take turns. So it's Q&A time. Any questions from the audience? Pretty good. Do you think that we answered some questions?
I think we
covered everything.
Yeah, we covered everything.
I think we just covered everything.
I think
we were
so.
talking like we knew each other for years. Love it. Well,
I noticed
if we
on the top of the panel, we're all in red.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. Well, my background is red. You know, my background is red. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's really great. That's really wonderful. You guys didn't even talk to each other. So that's you know, that's when it's right. You know, when what we're doing is the right thing. So, and it's important. So I thank you all for being here. I thank the audience for being here. If there be no questions, we're going to say goodnight for now. And this video will be up in the events page, also be on YouTube. And each of the panelists, their information will be on the YouTube. And just expect this video will be on their YouTube. So I want to thank you all for being here. so importantly, this is a subject that really needs to be talked about. And we will be back together again to talk about some issues with women. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you much. Bye for now. Oh, and Micheline said, awesome presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Good night,
you.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Nice meeting you.
Take care. Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
You'll see them again, I promise.